Welcome to the very first trial run of Baatcheat.
Great to be kicking this off.
Yeah. So think of this as your new weekly cheat sheet. We're aiming to be your shortcut for getting a handle on the really exciting world of electric vehicles and batteries.
Especially focusing on China and India, right? Two absolutely crucial markets.
Exactly. China, the powerhouse, and India, with all its emerging potential. Each week, we'll dive into the latest news, the key developments, just to get you up to speed fast on what really matters.
Like cutting through the noise.
Precisely. So today, we've pulled together a bunch of recent updates. We want to kind of paint a picture of where things stand right now in these markets.
Okay. What's the mission for today, then?
Simple, really. Extract the key insights, connect the dots, and just give everyone a clearer sense of, who's leading the pack, who's playing catch-up, and maybe what's coming down the pipeline.
Sounds good. Lots to cover, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. We'll take a virtual stroll through the Shanghai Auto Show, crunch some battery market numbers.
Always important.
Like the regulatory side of things, which is getting interesting, and then hop over to India to see the latest EV developments there, the good and, well, maybe the challenging.
Okay, let's jump in. Where do we start? China.
Let's start with China, because honestly, when you look at the EV and battery scene, their dominance is just undeniable right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the upcoming Shanghai Auto Show, end of April 2025, right? It really just hammers this home.
How so? The scale.
The scale is staggering. We're talking nearly 1,000 companies from 26 different countries packed into this huge exhibition space, 360,000 square meters.
Wow.
That alone tells you China isn't just, a player. It's really the global hub for EV innovation and, frankly, competition at this point.
And you see that reflected in the exhibitor list, too, I bet. Lots of homegrown giants.
Oh, absolutely. You've got the major Chinese EV makers there in force, Homineo, for instance. And they're not just showing up, they're launching 2 new sub-brands there, Onvo and Firefly.
2 new ones at the same show.
Yep.
Shows the pace. Then you have XPeng, Li Auto, BYD, and BYD's bringing its whole family. Denza Yangwang and another new one, Fangcheng Bao.
Fangcheng Bao. Okay, another debut.
Exactly. Plus, Xiaomi EV is making its big auto show entrance. Huawei's HEMA brand will be there. Leap Motor, Geely. The list goes on.
And the battery side?
Crucially, yes. CATL, the battery giant, they've got a booth, too. It's like the whole ecosystem laid out.
It's those debuts that really catch my eye. NIO's 2 sub-brands, Xiaomi, Huawei's HEMA, BYD's Fangcheng Bao. That's a lot of new energy, literally hitting the market.
It really underscores that intense innovation cycle happening over there. It's relentless.
What about the layout? Any interesting tidbits there? Sometimes where they put the booths tells a story?
It can, yeah. Like Onvo, that's NIO's new mainstream brand, is apparently right opposite Xiaomi EV, maybe a sign of who they see as direct competition.
Interesting.
And BYD has all its brands clustered together, showing that sort of unified front. NIO's main brand is sharing space with its other new one, Firefly, near BMW. Little hints of market positioning. And who's not there? Anyone significant missing?
Well, Tesla, they're not on the booth map again. Seems consistent with their strategy the last few years, skipping the big traditional auto shows.
Right, they tend to do their own thing, their own events. Still, their absence is always noted, isn't it?
Definitely. But the show itself, even without them, it's just a massive statement about China's central role.
Okay, so that's the big picture from the show floor. Let's switch gears to the batteries themselves. What's happening in the Chinese battery market?
Equally dynamic, you could say. The latest figures for March 2025 show just how much is being produced and installed. We're talking 56.6 gigawatt hours GWH of power batteries installed in vehicles.
56.6 gigawatt hours in just 1 month.
In 1 month. And that's a huge jump, up over 60% compared to last March, and also up over 60% just from the previous month, February.
Wow. Okay, so massive growth. Who's leading that charge? Still CATL.
CATL is still number 1, yeah. They installed 23.84 GWH in March. That gives them about 42.4% market share, solid lead.
But, I sense a but.
Well, their share actually dipped slightly from February. And the one gaining ground consistently is BYD.
Ah, the automaker that also makes its own batteries.
Exactly. Their market share climbed to 24.5%, with almost 14 GWH installed. And you can pretty much draw a straight line between that growth and their really strong sales of NEVs, new energy vehicles.
So their vertical integration strategy is really working for them. Control the car production, control the battery production.
It seems to be paying off, giving them more control over costs and supply. Below them, you've got players like CALB, Goshen High Tech, Eve Energy. They're filling out the top 5.
Okay. And what kind of batteries are we talking about mostly? Is it still the NMC, ternary chemistry, or?
Actually, the really big story within the battery numbers is the shift towards LFP, lithium iron phosphate.
Right, the less expensive, often safer chemistry.
Precisely. In March, LFP batteries accounted for a staggering 82.3% of all installations in China.
82%. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. It's a massive increase from the year before. It just shows how much appeal LFP has gained, likely due to cost improvements and, continued performance gains, even if energy density isn't always quite as high as ternary.
So ternary batteries, like NMC, are down to less than 18%.
Yeah, 17.7% in March.
And who are the big players in LFP specifically?
Well, no surprise, CATL and BYD are top there too, along with Gotion. For ternary, it's CATL again, but then you see LG Energy Solution and CAB in the mix.
Got it. And China isn't just using these batteries domestically, are they? They're exporting a lot, too.
Big time. In March alone, they shipped out 13.9 gigawatt of power batteries, both ternary and LFP.
So they're supplying the world, essentially.
Increasingly, yes. And speaking of the big players, CATL also just reported their Q1 2025 financials. Looked pretty healthy.
Oh, yeah. How good.
Net income was up 33% year on year. Good gross margin, too. And they're still moving forward with plans to list in Hong Kong.
So strong performance, global ambitions. It paints a picture of a dominant industry, not just assembling cars, but owning the core battery tech.
Absolutely. That's a key takeaway.
Now, with all this growth, especially in tech like EVs and batteries, regulation usually follows, right? What are we seeing on that front in China?
We are definitely seeing an uptick in scrutiny from the authorities, particularly around smart driving technology.
Assisted driving, autonomous features, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. There are growing concerns about, misuse or maybe over-reliance on these driver assistance systems. So the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, MIIT, they're stepping in more proactively.
What are they doing specifically?
They held meetings with car companies, basically telling them, look, you need to avoid misleading marketing. Don't call it self-driving if it's just advanced assistance.
Okay, cracking down on the hype.
Pretty much. And they're emphasizing the need for really thorough validation of software updates before they get pushed out to cars, especially over-the-air updates.
That makes sense. You don't want buggy software controlling driving functions.
Yeah. Right. And they even said that emergency software updates, the critical ones, should essentially be treated like recalls, or even warrant halting production if necessary. Serious stuff.
Was there a specific trigger for this, or just general caution?
Well, it follows some incidents. There was that widely reported fatal accident involving a Xiaomi SU7 where the assisted driving system apparently disengaged just moments before a crash. Things like that certainly raise red flags for regulators.
Yeah, you can see why they'd want to tighten things up. Clarity, responsibility. Seems necessary in such a fast-moving area.
And it's not just software. The focus extends to the batteries themselves, specifically safety.
Yes. Battery fires are always a major concern for consumers.
Exactly. So China has introduced what looks like the world's strictest EV battery safety standard. They're calling it No Fire, No Explosion.
Catchy name. Sounds serious.
It is. It's set to take effect in July 2026. The key mandate is that batteries must not catch fire or explode, even if they experience internal thermal runaway.
Which is basically an uncontrollable overheating inside the battery cell.
Precisely. That's the nightmare scenario. And this standard adds new demanding tests too, like bottom impact simulations and checks related to fast charging cycles.
How are the manufacturers reacting? Can they meet this?
Well, CATL has already come out saying their current tech meets these new, tougher standards, which suggests the leaders are probably prepared.
But maybe not everyone. Could this lead to some shakeout in the industry?
It definitely could raise the bar significantly, might squeeze out players who can't meet the standard. Ultimately, though, the goal is boosting consumer confidence and, making EVs safer.
Okay, stringent safety rules, tighter control on smart driving. China's clearly maturing as an EV market, regulations and all. Now, let's shift focus to India. A very different stage of development, right?
Very different, yes. Much earlier in its EV journey, but definitely showing signs of life. A lot of activity.
Like where? What are some examples?
Well, take Delhi, the capital. They're really pushing EV adoption through government policies. They just extended their current EV policy for 3 months.
Why the extension?
It seems like it's mainly to ensure a smooth transition to their next phase, what they're calling EV Policy 2.0, which is currently in draft form. Shows they want to keep the momentum going.
And what's in this new draft policy? What makes it interesting?
Some pretty attractive incentives, particularly aimed at women buyers of electric two-wheelers. They could get subsidies up to 36,000.
36,000 rupees. That's quite significant.
It is a clear push for inclusivity. Other two-wheeler buyers could get up to 30,000, electric autos up to 45,000. Plus, they're proposing incentives for scrapping older polluting vehicles.
So a multi-pronged approach. What's their overall goal?
It's ambitious. The draft policy aims for 95% EV penetration in Delhi by 2027.
95% by 2027. Wow.
It's very ambitious.
Extremely. We'll see how achievable it is, but it certainly signals strong intent.
And are new products actually hitting the roads beyond policy?
Yes. For example, Ola Electric is starting deliveries of its new Roadster X electric scooter series this month. That's a notable launch for the Indian market. Ola Electric, they're one of the bigger Indian EV startups, right?
They are. The Roadster X comes in a couple of variants, different battery options, features, and they launched with pretty competitive introductory pricing, so more choices for consumers, which is good.
But it's not all smooth sailing, I gather. You mentioned challenges earlier.
No, definitely not all smooth. The situation with BlueSmart is a case in point.
They're the electric ride-hailing company.
That's right. They recently had to suspend taking new bookings. And it seems to be linked to some serious allegations against their leasing partner, a company called Gensol Engineering.
What kind of allegations?
Allegations of significant fund misuse. Apparently, funds that were meant for buying EVs for BlueSmart's fleet might have been diverted elsewhere by Gensol. India's market regulator, SEBI, is investigating.
Oof, that sounds messy. Financial instability, governance issues. These can really derail things in a new market.
Absolutely. It raises big concerns. And it's gotten to the point where BlueSmart is reportedly even considering shifting its whole model, maybe becoming just a fleet partner for Uber rather than a standalone ride-hailing service.
Wow. That really highlights the fragility and the challenges these early players face in scaling up sustainably.
It really does. A tough lesson, perhaps, about the need for robust financial oversight and, strong governance as this market grows.
Any other examples of the complexities in India, maybe on the tech side?
Well, look at Mahindra's latest EVs, the XEV90 and the BE6. They showcase really extensive global collaborations, hardware and software coming from international suppliers.
Which isn't unusual, right? Cars are complex global products.
True, but it highlights the integration challenge. Bringing all these advanced systems together, especially sophisticated software, isn't easy. And reports from some early adopters mention software glitches.
The teething problems of integrating complex tech.
Exactly. It just points to the hurdles involved even for established players like Mahindra in getting these advanced vehicles right, especially adapting them for local market conditions and user expectations.
Okay, so India. Ambitious policies, new products launching, but also facing some serious growing pains with financial issues and tech integration challenges.
That seems like a fair summary of the current state, yes. Lots of potential, but hurdles to overcome.
So let's try and wrap this up. As we finish this first Baatcheat deep dive, what's the big picture takeaway?
Well, I think it's impossible to ignore China's position. They're just so clearly in the driver's seat right now. Innovation, scale, setting standards.
Right. That Shanghai show sounds like it'll be a massive display of that dominance and the sheer level of competition within China itself.
Yeah, definitely. Meanwhile, India is, firmly in the emerging category, exciting, potential, ambitious goals being set.
But also navigating some pretty significant bumps in the road. Financial governance, technology integration, real challenges.
Exactly. And the global impact of both is huge, isn't it? China's battery tech and scale affect everyone, worldwide supply chains, costs.
And India, just given its size, represents a massive future market. How it develops matters globally. Plus, those regulations coming out of China, safety, smart driving, could easily become benchmarks elsewhere.
For sure. Other countries will be watching closely.
So hopefully this deep dive has given everyone a bit of a clearer snapshot of what's happening in these two key EV markets. What really stands out to you from our chat today?
For me, it's that contrast. China's sheer momentum and scale versus India's energetic but still quite early stage development. And maybe that regulatory push in China, balancing that rapid innovation with the need for safety and control.
Yeah, that innovation versus regulation dynamic in China is fascinating. And for India, it's that mix of opportunity, the policy push, the new entrants against those hurdles, like the BlueSmart situation. Lots to keep tracking.
Definitely.
Well, this is just the start for a Baatcheat. We plan to keep diving into these markets every week, so thanks for joining this first conversation.
Looking forward to the next one.